I have a client who, when I spoke with her, I asked her to be very cautious of her heart because I felt that there could be an obstruction and there could be some issues with the function of the heart. If she ever felt pain, just to go to the doctor, go to the hospital, because I did not want her to take any risks. Even if I was incorrect, even if I wasn't aware of the detail properly, still go to the doctor if you felt pain. Several months later, she had pain in her heart and she thought it was maybe indigestion. So she sat with it. And in her mind, she heard my voice and the memory of me telling her, if you ever feel pain in your heart, do not wait, just go to the doctor. She did. And the doctor told her it was a very good thing that she came in that day, because had she not come in that day, she would have been dead by the end of the day. My name is Fernando, and I have a special gift. I speak to the dead. When I was a child, I heard a voice that warned me about an impending fire. That voice saved my life. Today, I use my gift to pass on messages for those left behind. Join me as I cross over the rainbow and connect with Spirit.
Hi.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Okay, so Ferny, I've known you quite well over the past few weeks, but would you mind telling a little bit more about yourself? How's life and everything going?
Life is good. I think we are in lockdown still here in the States. So that's been an interesting experience, to say the least. I'm glad I have a lot of free open air to roam. We have hiking trails here, so I can walk in the mountains if I want to. But I am a professional psychic medium. And what I do is I essentially can tune into the future and sense details about a person's life and what they may see coming into their life in the form of experiences and emotions, etc. I can also connect to those who have passed on and bring through messages of love and healing and validation that they still exist.
So Ferny, I wanted to know that for how many years you've been practicing them, and in the very first place, how you started all these things, and after starting all these things, how you polished or mastered them.
So I have been doing this work for approximately, I want to say a little over 10 years, professionally. I have been doing this naturally since I was a teenager, since I was a child, actually. I used to speak to people who weren't there. And so my family knew them as imaginary friends, and they would tell me stories, and they would talk to me about things that I had no knowledge of. Professionally, I've been doing this for about 10 years, and it took me about 5 years to really get polished enough to feel confident and comfortable with being able to do this work for a living.
So Ferny, many of the audiences are still unaware with the term psychic medium, including myself. So would you like to explain it?
Yes. So
from the zero level.
Sure. So as far as the psychic part of this is concerned, it is my belief and experience that we are all very complicated human beings. And even though we can sense using our normal physical senses, our visual senses, our hearing senses, we also have the capacity to extend that ability into a more evolved and advanced form of sensing. So for example, if I want to tune in and see something in the future, I will use my visual senses, but it isn't my eyes that I'm using, it is my memory centers of seeing things. So I am able to see things using those brain functions, and I can expand my awareness out in that way. So I can sense things beyond time and space. I can sense details that aren't always available to our normal physical senses. So that is the psychic part of it. The mediumship part of it is the ability to communicate with spirits or with people who are no longer in their physical bodies, who have passed on, who are deceased, and they now exist in an energy form. We are all energy beings residing within a physical construct we call our physical body. And when we are no longer using this like a shell, we will leave the shell behind, but we still exist in a pure form of consciousness. So I can tap in and connect with those beings or people, and they share messages and information with me.
I have a doubt here. Are psychics and astrologers the same thing?
No. So astrologers, and it depends on the kind of astrologer. I actually had a podcast earlier today with a Vedic astrologer who's a good friend of mine. But astrology is based around the idea that you can distinguish specific details from the alignment of the planets in certain configurations. I don't really use planets or stars to get my information or to understand details. I use emotions, thoughts, feelings. I use whatever my brain can access through my memory centers. And that helps me to understand data and information.
Finally, I'm getting everything inside my head now. Ferny, I don't know, maybe there are some people who are still afraid of this medium, and I am still afraid of this. They connect this thing with voodoos, with black magic. So would you like to throw some light on this topic?
Yes. So there is a well-known scientist. I believe his name is, his name escapes me. Well, I'll think of it. It'll come back to me at some point. He conducted a few experiments with water in which people who were experiencing different emotions were essentially focusing these emotions on this container of water. And what they realized is that each container changed its form. The structure of the water changed forms based off of the energy that was being intended towards it. So the energy of love created these structures that were very similar to snowflakes. The energy of anger or resentment created diseased water or caused the water to become contaminated. So in essence, the intention and the energy put into these particles of water essentially affected its structure and its form. People have the same capacity with each other. When I think of someone, if I hold them in a thought of love or compassion, essentially I'm connecting with that vibration, with that energy, with that frequency that resides within them as well. So I'm raising the energy of love within them. If I am approaching them from a perspective of anger or rage or pain, I will bring up that energy within them as well. Psychics have a sensitivity that they're usually born with. And I actually say everyone is psychic. Everyone can do what I do. There's no difference between you and I. The only difference is that I understand the process and have spent years practicing it. But everyone can do what I do. And so with psychics who like to use methods such as magic or curses or anything of that nature, these are human beings who are connected to the energy and vibration of anger, hatred, resentment. So they use their intentional energy to affect the structure of things, including people and the experiences around them. I do not practice those things because I believe that what you send out into the universe, you bring back to you. And if you want to experience love in your life, you have to sustain an energy and vibration of love. If you do not want to experience anger or pain, then you should practice love instead of anger or pain. If you send that energy out there, it's going to return to you. And so some people call themselves psychics who practice this kind of intentional work. But there are a lot of people who call themselves psychics who do not actually practice what I do. And so there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of misunderstanding with a great many people about what I do and the kind of work that this entails.
So that was quite a myth breaker. You claim to connect with the souls. So can you explain the process?
So from my experience and from my understanding, there is God or the Almighty or the I Am. Then there is the soul, which is a more condensed version of God, which we all are connected to a soul. And then from the soul, there is a even smaller version, which I consider to be the spirit or spirit personality. I am a spirit personality as you are. I am Ferny and you are you. And so we experience our lives through these personas. And when we no longer exist in this form, our spirit personality, like a book in a library, is returned to the library being the soul. So all of our souls have a immense amount of spirit personalities that it is essentially storing in its cloud, as you will. And so we all experience through these different levels or vibrations.
I got that quite well. Well, yes, I also wanted to ask, what does faith have to do with psychic abilities? I mean, does it affect your psychic abilities?
Faith is an interesting topic because there are many people who have a faith that is based in ideas and theories and no direct experience. And a lot of their faith is based in tradition. It's what they're taught. It's what they're conditioned to believe. I am a strong proponent of faith in the sense of what you connect with that is authentic, that is real. There will be a reflection or reminders of it throughout the entire world and universe. So if you are connected to a real, authentic faith of our divine nature, of our connection to source and God, then you will see that reflected in all that you experience in your life. If you believe in just whatever you're conditioned to believe in because of tradition, then you will not have as many experiences that validate faith. So for me, I have faith in my abilities because in the beginning, I questioned them quite heavily. And I believed perhaps maybe I suffer from a mental disorder. Perhaps I suffer from a form of schizophrenia. Perhaps I suffer from this or that. But it wasn't until I trusted the process and continued to do this work that the validation began to come more often than was possible.
Ferny, you've been in this industry for quite a while, and I wanted to know if cold calling and hot calling is still prevalent, because I was reading an article from a Canadian scientist, and he wrote that they will edit the information, they will get the information via Facebook, Instagram. So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, there are a lot of psychics who do cold readings. I think that they call them cold calling or cold readings. And essentially, people base their answers off of seeing someone or going off of body language or asking questions and having the individual share something. And then you bounce your answer off of that or your response off of that. A lot of people who call themselves psychics will go and investigate or look into someone's background. And in this day and age, it's pretty easy to find information about others.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't deny that that is possible with a lot of instances. For myself, I try to conduct myself with a lot of integrity. And I believe that I am doing a service in which I am honoring the energy of God and of our loved ones in spirit form. And if I do not conduct myself with integrity, then life will find a way to cause me to suffer and to feel pain. So I believe that what I do with complete faith that whatever I'm going to say that day without having any prior knowledge is going to somehow validate the experience for the person. Anybody can look anybody up. You really have to go off of your personal experience and your personal feelings about the experience. But many times, so much information comes through where it is very difficult, if not impossible, for me to gather on my own. And I would say that I try to focus on details that aren't things that you can look up. If I tell you that, oh, so-and-so had a back pain and this back pain was significant to them, it's kind of hard to understand that if there's no record of that and if I didn't know that person personally and if they existed on the other side of the world. So it just depends on the psychic. But cold readings are still very, very prevalent, and you really have to do your research and go based off of reviews instead of just trusting that someone who calls himself a psychic is operating within integrity.
So as for some people, there are tricksters as well in this industry. So do you have any tips to recognize them? Do you have any tips for recognizing a true psychic?
True psychic ability is not always perfectly packaged. In other words, when I am conducting a session, there are times where I do not even understand the significance of a piece of information, but I am sensing a detail that is very significant. The United States government in the 70s, the 1970s, spent a lot of money and resources conducting experiments with people they considered to be psychics. And in these experiments, it was a common attribute that people who were psychic would focus on details, but did not always have the contextual understanding of that detail. So they may pick up on one significant little component that is very specific, but they didn't understand the bigger picture. And with my own experiences, I know this to be true. When I am tuning into someone's life, I may pick up on a situation with very specific details, but I don't understand in what context. The context is removed because I do not see everything. I do not know everything. I can only sense one particular detail. It's the same thing with true psychics. With people who are not genuinely psychic, they tend to want to package everything in a nice narrative that is complete without any gaps or pieces missing. It is very hard for a true psychic to see and know everything. That is for the mind of God. That is not for us. We can only pick up on bits and pieces, only understand what our conceptual mind can grasp in the moment of the sensing.
I hope people got it.
Yeah, it is a very complicated process to psychically sense, but it is a useful one because it can allow us to benefit from it, and also to assist others in their life's path. And at times, it has been known to save lives. I have a client who, when I spoke with her, I asked her to be very cautious of her heart because I felt that there could be an obstruction and there could be some issues with the function of the heart. If she ever felt pain, just to go to the doctor, go to the hospital, because I did not want her to take any risks. Even if I was incorrect, even if I wasn't aware of the detail properly, still go to the doctor if you felt pain. Several months later, she had pain in her heart and she thought it was maybe indigestion. So she sat with it. And in her mind, she heard my voice and the memory of me telling her, if you ever feel pain in your heart, do not wait, just go to the doctor. She did. And the doctor told her it was a very good thing that she came in that day, because had she not come in that day, she would have been dead by the end of the day, because her arteries were 98% clogged with blockages. So she went through a bypass surgery, and she's still alive to this day. She exists. But she thanked me for doing that. And I had no idea what I was sensing. All I knew was, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I need to tell her. If it spares her pain and suffering, then this is what is meant to be.
Do you think psychic abilities can help the person who is desperate for guidance, but have no one to guide them except their loved ones who have already left them?
Yes, it's important for psychics. If someone goes to a psychic, it's important that the psychic not tell them what to do, because we are sentient beings and we have the ability to choose the decisions, to make decisions, and to choose the path that we will move forward in our lives. And so I make it important for every person that I speak to, before, in the very beginning of a session, I let them know this is their life. They are responsible for their decision and choices. I am not responsible for that. I can only share what I sense. There are a lot of people out there who like to tell others what to do, but it is a kind of an act, in my opinion, against nature and against God to tell others how they should live their lives. They need to make those decisions for themselves. So when people come to me, I ask that they be open and receptive, but I'm going to share what I understand. And hopefully it will allow them to see the pattern and receive affirmation for what they truly want to do for themselves. There are times where I see something that someone does not want to choose for themselves, which is okay. They don't have to agree with me. My job is not to agree with someone, but to share what I sense. They still have to make that decision for themselves. And if you go to a psychic and they tell you what to do, they've taken your free will away, and you are not accountable to yourself, and you have given up your power. And it is a very dangerous thing to give up your decision and choices to someone else.
I'm finally grasping all these things. Since I scheduled this interview with you, most of the people asked me that in many of your videos, you said that it was a God gift to you. So is a God gift mandatory, or anyone like me can learn it?
Yeah, a lot of people like to consider it a gift from God. I only use that term because it helps people understand that this is something I'm very advanced with and something that I'm very naturally taken to. But I actually believe it's an ability that we all possess. And as we continue to evolve as human beings, and as we continue to explore consciousness, everyone at some point will have the same level of ability that I have, and it will come naturally. So my sensitivity is, I guess, what I would consider to be a gift from God, because I did come in more sensitive than usual. And it's just like Mozart, a great musician who some people can play a few piano keys and make a couple of sounds that sound great. Some people can create a work of art like Mozart. Some people come in very talented and naturally aligned to those opportunities.
Okay, I hope everyone's doubt has been cleared. Okay, so I checked your Google reviews and you had an overwhelming response there with 5-star rating. Your ratings were even better than a doctor.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So your review suggested that you were 100% accurate there, but some countable reviews suggested that you were not getting that mark. So I just wanted to know that were that the people who were skeptical about it, or your readings were kind of not accurate?
Yes. So some people will suggest that I am 100% accurate. And there are a lot of people who suggest this. I dispute that because no psychic is 100% accurate. I think the best psychics can maybe be 70-80% accurate. I don't think that the percentage is higher than that. And there is a level of error that comes along with this work. There are some people who, when I speak to them, they are not prepared or ready to receive the information I have to share, because they either disagree, they are in love, and they may want that love to continue. And if I dispute that, they may not be happy about that. And some people will leave reviews. Some people are correct. Maybe I did not do as good a job in their session as I could have. Maybe I could have done better. But that's one of the things that I am very proud of, is that I accept when I do a great job, but I also accept when I don't do as great a job, or when I am incorrect in some of my predictions or in some of my sensing abilities. So it really is dependent on the individual and what their experience has been. But there are a lot of people who agree that I have a higher than usual accuracy rate for just guessing.
Okay, so it's been really good to talk to you and interviewing with you.
Yes.
So would you like to give any last message to the audience?
I believe it is important that every person realize that they have the potential to evolve beyond their physical senses. They have the ability to connect to God and to the universe in a more infinite and fulfilling and meaningful way. And I implore people to try, because it was my experience in asking God to show itself to me, to come to me, to connect through me, and to allow me to serve others, that this has all happened. So this has been a very interesting and complex journey, but I believe that it is something we can all experience directly. I hope for the day when this is taken more seriously, and that there is more scientific evidence and research conducted to support that we all can do this, because it is my experience that we all can.
So what do you want to say to those people who just don't believe in the abilities, true abilities?
Yeah, there will always be people who do not believe in love, but it exists. And for those people, they may never experience it because they choose not to. And that's okay. I'm not here to prove or to validate for anyone whether this exists or not. I can only offer what I offer. They can either accept it or they don't. And if they don't, that's okay. It's not going to affect the work that I do, because I'm here to help, not to prove to people that this is 100% and that everything that I do is correct, because I'm still human. I still make mistakes.
Thank you so much, Ferny, for this interview and for giving me a chance to interview with you.
Thank you. Very, very sweet.
Huge and a special thanks to my brother Maheshwari for helping me with this podcast series, and a huge thanks to Darshika Didi as well for giving me tips to promote my channel. Thank you so much to both of them. Hey Guys, I hope you have the clear perception in your mind about the psychic medium, and we all got to learn a new message, and that is, it's love that all exists. If you are new to my channel, subscribe to my channel and don't forget to press the bell icon so that you can get the latest updates. Comment down below what's your reaction on this video. Like this video and share this video as much as possible so that your friends can know about the psychic medium and they can break all the myths from their minds. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching.